Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Big Sticks, episode number 11. Put up your fingers of the Ball Talk Boyos Podcast. I'm once again joined by the second most famous TikToker on TikTok currently going, Joey Bareski. Joey, how you doing today?
Second most famous on TikTok is crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, you and the Hawk Tua girl.
Oh no, that's I don't belong in that elite company. But I'm doing fantastic, Topher. Ready to talk some ball tonight, and ready to really get into some good NFL debates.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that. But first things first, we got to talk a little bit about the embarrassing loss that your team suffered to the Redeem team this past weekend. All right, would you like to make an apology about this sorry team that you trotted out this past week? For those of you who don't know, the Redeem team began their quest towards redemption and kicked the team that knocked us out's butt this past weekend in fantasy football. Joey, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take this opportunity to apologize for absolutely nothing. We're going to three-peat this year. You cannot win in the playoffs. We peak at the right time every season. That's why my name is on this trophy two times, and yours is on none. I'm going to beat your sorry team in the playoffs again and again and again, every single year.
We'll see. Just don't go 5-9 again this year. Maybe you won't get quite as lucky this time around if you go 5-9. I was talking about this with Connor, and for once he actually made a pretty good point that we probably have our. So, listeners that don't know, we're a fantasy football league with our friends, and it's a 10-team league, and we do an 8-team playoff. And I like to think of it, it's nice because then everyone stays involved longer. And it adds a little bit more suspense to like who does our fantasy punishment in the last two. It's like a best 2 out of 3. But when my team wins 9 straight heading into the playoffs and then doesn't get rewarded for getting the top seed eventually, it does kind of stink.
I will give you that kind of stinks. Yes, that's fair. My team also did win 6 of our last 7 though. Had the most points scored against. And yeah, we were like the fourth. I think we were 4th or 5th in scoring in the league too last year. First. Yeah, no, you were first. Like, I'm not saying your team was bad.
In the history of our league, I had like genuinely a historically great team.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. But I just think I think everyone, I've been saying this a lot this year and last year too, because I'm the back-to-back champ. I mean, I won half the time in the league. No one else has won the trophy since 2021, so no one really knows what it feels like. No one's had it in their possession as long as I have. But these cats out here trying to do anything to beat me, man, and none of them can. I don't really care about the regular season. We're a postseason team. As long as I'm in the playoffs, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because I know my team's going to peak at the right time every single season.
Good coaching.
Great coaching.
That's all it comes down to at the end of the day.
Great coaching.
How long will it take for you to make a trade this year? Because I don't think you made one last year.
Yeah, last year I didn't make one. We had a terrible start. Everyone was pressuring me to sell low on my guys.
I tried to trade for Bryce. I remember that.
Everyone was telling me to sell low on my guys because I think the main guys I had last year were Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams, and DJ Moore. That was like my running back wide receiver core, and they were all underperforming at different times or at the same time for most of the regular season. But sometimes your best move is to hold them. And this year, I will make a trade if it benefits my team, but no one has given me an offer that benefits my team yet. So
I forgot. This was a layer to Joey and I. Maybe one day we'll spend like a solid block breaking down Joey and I's fantasy football playoff matchup last year because there was a lot that went very well for you and went very wrong for me. You can admit that. There was a lot. I forgot you had the Raiders defense, and wasn't that the week they played the Chargers and put up 40 points? It felt like.
I picked up a different defense.
25 points.
I picked up a different defense every week. That was my strategy as a
I
stream.
remember you played the Raiders defense the week you played against me, though, and they scored 25 points.
You know, we can spend all day here talking about how I got really lucky and how because you had like 5 or 6 players between two teams starting for you that you got really unlucky. But at the end of the day, man, it's just
What do you
all
mean
ball.
unlucky? Michael Pittman got killed in the end of the second quarter.
Yeah, no. I understand that. But if you didn't have 3 Cowboys and 2 Jaguars starting, and those teams didn't happen to...
That was just because my team, I got riddled with injuries just at the wrong time. That was the only reason that many Jaguars were starting. The Cowboys I'll give you, but I was starting Brandon Aubrey. That doesn't count.
Hey, I totally get it, but you should have seen those injuries coming from a mile away.
Oh, yeah. I should have just known that Keenan Allen was going to decide not to come back, right?
Right.
And that Tank Dell was going to start run blocking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then Michael Pittman was going to get, concussed, immediately.
Yeah, I'm glad you finally admit that you shouldn't know
And that Kyron Williams was going to have 2 fumbles. And, yeah.
Well, if Kyron Williams didn't play special teams, then he
yeah. That's you make a very good point. See, he just knew he was getting ready to play special teams for this year, so he started coughing up the ball a little bit more.
Yeah. Butterfingers.
Hey, special teams, special players. Or whatever he does. Your recent stardom on TikTok. You're a current rising star. Do you have any thoughts you want to share with potentially new listeners that we may be having on this podcast?
Well, if there's any new listeners who have stuck around, what are we, 7 minutes in? Because apparently our retention rate is really bad. But we appreciate you if you stuck around this long. We're going to keep grinding out stuff. And, I'm always thinking about my next 2, 3, 4 steps, right?
Sure.
And I've been spending a unhealthy amount of time thinking about the future of the Ball Talk Boyos and the Boyos brand in general. And we got some big things in the works. Topher doesn't even know what these things are, but we have some big things in the works.
You want to know something? I had, in the middle of my workout yesterday, I came up with an idea that I think is pretty good. And we'll get around to that next year. Well, it needs a year to marinate. And then next year we can put it into action. But I was in the middle, I was running along through Peoria, however you say it, and I was like, that'd be a pretty cool idea if we started to do that.
Yeah.
Something else that I keep dropping stuff and I wanted to go pick it up. Something else that was particularly on my mind and that I have spent probably 75% of the last 2 days devoting a lot of my mental and research time into the Bryce Young benching. I have a lot to say, but I will let the floor be yours for a minute to share your thoughts on Bryce Young being benched in favor of Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Well, not Sam Darnold, Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton, same person in my head.
All right. Well, first of all, right?
Both Red Rockets. Red Rocket.
Sam Darnold's brunette.
No, he's not.
Isn't he brunette?
No.
I'm 99. I don't imagine him with red hair. Maybe he's maybe he's slightly like a ginger-ish tint, but I think
it's got There are some pictures where he looks a little more redheaded than others. Anyways, I'll let you continue.
I've thought from the get-go coming into the NFL, right? He wasn't the best quarterback in that class. I've always thought it was C.J. Stroud, right? Was a lot of that biased because I'm an Ohio State fan? Yes. Is a lot of that biased because I didn't like Alabama? Yes. But I'm still a big believer in Bryce Young. I still was a big believer in Bryce Young at the time. And I just don't see how, in a situation as bad as Carolina's has been, where Bryce Young, through 19 games, 18 games, has played in 3 different offenses,
yeah,
how you bench a guy with that much going against him and not give the first overall pick from last year's draft more than 2 games into his second season to figure it out. Carolina's not going anywhere. Carolina's not winning anything.
No.
It just blows my mind that they don't play Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young, at the very least, should have been starting the rest of the season.
Yeah, probably. You want to know something's crazy that I found out? I want you to guess. On NFL.com, guess who had a higher, like based on like coming into the combine, guess who had a higher prospect grade? Caleb Williams or Bryce Young?
Bryce Young.
He did, yeah. We talked about Caleb Williams, and now like I feel like an idiot for saying he feels like a once-in-a-generation quarterback. Take away like the current production. I don't care about the first 2 games. We don't have to talk about that at all. But Bryce Young was drafted first overall for a reason. And sure, he doesn't have anything that like is elite. Like he's not an elite. He doesn't have a big arm. He's not a great runner. Like he's not, but like he's good at everything. Like that. Like I read like 4 or 5 like pre-draft analysis articles, and all of them said the same thing: is that he doesn't do anything like elite, but he does everything good to great. And what Tony Romo, I think, pointed out that if you put him behind a good offensive line and allow him time to be creative, was essentially what he was saying behind there, for like in the Carolina Panthers offense, then he would succeed eventually. Yes, he weighs less than 207 pounds or whatever, but like everything that I read on that was just a durability concern, and it was just like a worry because it's never been done before. I don't know about you, Joey, but one of the reasons I particularly like sports as much as I do, I like seeing the things that have never been done before. So like he's 203 pounds and he's 5'10", he's not an NFL quarterback. We're eliminating the human aspect and like the ability to like dream a little bit. I'm 5'7", 145 pounds. That didn't stop me from being a 7th grader that wanted to play in the NBA, and I was even shorter then. So like we will get to the point where like it's too analytic based, and like that feels like it's like ruining things. He was drafted by a head coach that did not want him. Frank Reich did not want him. Like he never said it, but he was always like, I wanted CJ Stroud. And it was because David Tepper, and honestly, I think now David Tepper is the reason he's not starting. Like this was a David Tepper decision. He came down to the head coach and was like, hey, I would like to win. And that's why Andy Dalton's going to be starting on Sunday. They mortgaged their future for this guy. They will get clowned for eternity. Have you looked at that draft, that trade that they made?
Oh, yeah. It's
for a franchise that sold players for pennies on the dollar to now the one way that they can truly redeem this, and I'll let you give some more thoughts after I say this. If Dave Canales, I don't know how you say his last name, but sat Bryce down and was like, hey, this is a 2 or 3 game thing, like mentally reset. It's not for the entire season. You will be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers again at some point. We'll let you have a little reset, come back, ball out, and we'll like figure it out from there. That's the only reason that like I think the Carolina Panthers can show they're not entirely dysfunctional.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, I think I think they screwed up and they're dysfunctional regardless of what they do here because of the fact, in part because of the fact, I should say, that they benched Bryce Young. That's already a bad decision, and going back on it looks bad at some point, and like it's going to look bad regardless, but I think it looks significantly better if they go back to Bryce Young at some point than if they just give up. Andy Dalton's not their future.
No.
Andy Dalton is not their future. I know you agree with me here, obviously. Yeah. But why would they start Andy Dalton when they're not. I mean, unless they're trying or somehow there's someone thinking they're going to win something in house there, but they shouldn't be starting him.
If you'd asked me 2 days ago, I think I would have told you it's an irrational owner. Like that was part of that. That was until today when Dave Canales said that he still believes Bryce Young can be the franchise quarterback for that team. Until he came out and said that today, I would have told you some higher up has irrational expectations for this team, and they feel like trying to win is more important than Bryce Young's development, which I think is ridiculous because you do not. It's been 18 games. It took, I don't know if you've looked at like Peyton Manning's, like it took him 4 years to really figure it out. Like he had a bad rookie year where he threw a ton of interceptions. His next 2 years he was good. I'll give it that. But then the fourth year he regressed. And then if Peyton Manning, all in all, Peyton Manning would not be starting after his third year in the NFL. He probably wouldn't be starting after his rookie year if he were a rookie quarterback today. Like you said, this team should not have aspirations of even being a playoff team. Like realistically, Bryce Young, say what you will, he was the consensus number 1 overall pick coming into last year. He was the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yep.
And we're benching him after 18 games to try and win a couple more games.
Yeah, it's stupid. That shouldn't be the case.
You want to know what? He played 1 preseason series. He played 1. A singular series.
How do you not? Okay, that just proves more that the Panthers are dysfunctional because you have a quarterback going into his second year who struggled in year 1.
Under a new head coach.
That gives me worries and think he should be still starting this year because he hasn't played much under this head coach. But also they should have played him more.
Derek Carr played in 2 games in preseason because he is a new offensive coordinator. I think C.J. Stroud played a couple of games.
Yeah.
And Bryce Young, we're not giving him like a little leeway. Is he a good quarterback in the NFL? Probably not. Like that's okay to say, and I don't think I'm like off everything we've seen, probably not going to work out. But I think after 18 games, it's too early to like definitively say one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like obviously we can go into economics here in the sunk cost fallacy, right? Where the Panthers have put this much investment in him, they're never getting that investment back. So if they really think their best move is Andy Dalton, then they should go to Andy Dalton, right?
Yeah.
But that's not how the sunk cost fallacy works. That's not how the NFL works, I should say. That's how the sunk cost fallacy works. That's not how the NFL works, though. When you get a guy who was a Heisman winner in college, who grades out at the combine better than someone who's supposedly a generational quarterback, you give them more time. Especially if you know the situation around them is not very good, unless you're trying to save their confidence for when the situation is better. But that's not what they're doing. That's not at all what they're doing. They're just benching him.
He would have been better off not playing. This goes back to my feelings about like rookie quarterbacks. He shouldn't have played week 1 last year if this is where we are now. Like if it was that like fragile, his like place as the starting quarterback, he should not have been starting week 1 last year, and it should have been Andy Dalton then too.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe, and I'm going to stick to this, and I'm sure there will be a scenario in my lifetime where I wind up having to bend the rules for somebody a little bit. But I think if you're going to start a rookie quarterback week 1, rookie year, you got to give him 2 years. Because if you pull them, I believe you kill their confidence. And to say that like, well, if that breaks their confidence, then they're not made for the NFL. Well, they're real people. I think I saw Bryce Young's like, I think he's your age, so he's a year older than me. And being in his spot where he's succeeded in this thing for his entire life, and now he's kind of hit a roadblock at the highest level, and now he's being told to sit down after I bet he probably hasn't sat on the bench since his freshman year at Alabama, but that was understandable. Like the organization failed him. Like, I think at the end of the day, he got sacked the second most amount in the NFL last year. I went back because Connor brought up, like, he saw something about with the last game. The last game of his season last year. I went back. I watched every offensive snap of the Carolina Panthers last year. I've started doing it. Shout out NFL Plus Premium, by the way, because it is great. If there's we spent before Sunday Night Football, we watched like an old Patriots-Eagles game from like 2012. We watched the entire condensed game replay of it. Anyways, but I watched every Panthers offensive snap for week 18. I saw like 4 or 5 drops. I saw I saw DJ Chark fumble at the goal line.
Yeah.
I saw whoever their kicker is miss a field goal, and they lost 9-0. And I was like, huh. And I saw Bryce Young. Yes, he made some mistakes, but I didn't think he played like horrible. And to be fair, I've never once claimed I can't explain to you the concepts of football or different formations and concepts of different like route trees and things like that. But like if you put it in front of me, I feel like I can like develop an opinion whether if it's good or bad. And I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yes.
Where just by sitting there looking at it, I'm like, oh, probably shouldn't have done that, or like, oh, like that's not great. I never played football. Like I don't claim to be some expert when I watch film. I watch largely for the entertainment, but like I feel like we can both say whether something's good or bad. And I felt like I walked away from it being there's more like meh to good, all right than there was bad when I watched the game. But I don't. Do you think he starts again this year?
I think he does start again this year just because it's going to be so bad still with Andy Dalton.
Yeah,
I think he does start again this year.
Better. Yeah.
I don't think it's better regardless though.
Yeah.
And speaking to his confidence though, his confidence is shot right now. I saw a video today of him like signing an autograph for a fan, and he just looks like he is so sad, and he just looks like so unconfident. And I get I've had times in my athletic career, everywhere from elementary school soccer to college cross country and track, where my coach has just not believed in me or like singled me out for something that I shouldn't be singled out for, right?
Yeah.
And when your coach doesn't believe in you, it can do two things. It can destroy your confidence, and that's what happened with me in like elementary school soccer, right? It destroyed my confidence. Like I wanted to quit soccer. I hated soccer then, and I ended up quitting soccer eventually, right? Not because of that, but I just didn't like soccer. I didn't like soccer, and it killed that rest of the season for me.
It sours your feeling about it.
It sours your feeling about it. And if you haven't been through that before, which Bryce Young, for someone as good at football as he has been in his career, has not gone through this before, I can almost guarantee. So it's his first time going through something like this. It's going to hurt his confidence. He hasn't had the development from elementary school soccer to college cross country where you can kind of look at it and be like, oh, I'm not going to let this get in my head. I'm going to let this fuel me. I'm going to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
Like, Bryce Young doesn't have that necessarily in him. Maybe he does, but he hasn't gone through this, I'm trying to think of the word to use, but like, he hasn't gone through this turmoil with his athletic career. So once he comes on the other side of this and kind of learns from it, I think he'll be better off in general. Think of a guy like Geno Smith who had the same thing happen to him early in the league. He's good at quarterback now. Sam Darnold's another example who might actually be working out in the NFL. It just didn't work out at first. Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield was good in the NFL.
Was bad. He had a bad couple years.
He had that shoulder injury. And
but then he was bad in Carolina.
Yeah, they're gonna give up on him in the NFL. But
Drew Brees was bad.
I mean, sometimes it just takes some quarterbacks a little bit longer for a guy,
and that's okay.
And they have to get over feeling sorry for themselves, or they have to get over this getting written off, and they have to get up, pull up their bootstraps, and make sure they don't right back. Yeah, and go out there and play football.
I'm on Carolina Panthers like Twitter now because I watch all of the clips that pop up of like all of the press conferences, and I've seen like Adam Thielen and other like players on that team thoughts, and it sounds like they're like they're still in on Bryce Young. Like it wasn't like the whole team is out. I Now that I've thought about it some more, I do think it was the owner because the owner was even at practice today, and like he hasn't been there all year. And David Tepper, like notoriously worst owner in the NFL for some of his antics, and he was the one who wanted Bryce Young. Like that's the crazier thing. So we'll see. I hope it's just a 2 or 3 game thing. It's probably going to be a little more than that. But I don't expect Andy Dalton to be, and he might be a little more successful, and they might win like a game more. But I think in long run, it could do more bad than good if it does kill Bryce Young's confidence and hurt his development there because of it. So, NFL Week 2 just wrapped up. We are recording Wednesday, September 18th. Just wrapped up this past Monday. I asked you to pick a game that you wanted to talk about. Which game did you come to the recording today with?
The Eagles-Falcons.
You want to talk about the Eagles-Falcons? Okay. While I pull that up, why don't you talk a little bit about your thoughts on that?
I think the thing that stood out to me first and foremost was Jalen Hurts' bad decision-making at times there. He was making some questionable decisions, and I feel like in part he's a reason they lost that game. Obviously, the easy thing to point to is that Saquon play at the end there, but I think a lot of it's on Jalen Hurts, to be honest. Sure. And I will say, I think the Falcons looked a little bit better than they did the first week, in my opinion, and that's important because I was getting a little worried there after that first week, especially about Kirk. But I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch this game, but I saw all of like the reaction to it, and it sounded like a lot of it was on Saquon and Sirianni. I mean, I saw the pick at the very end of the game, and it made it sound like he got hit as he threw there. But my bigger thing was probably I'm trying to pull up the stats like right now as we speak. But my bigger thing wasn't it? Kirko looked a lot better. Fair to say.
Yeah,
and I saw. Yeah, no, just Kirko looked better. What's this? 20 for 29, 241 with 2 touchdowns. Drake London's getting involved. I saw, you know that meme where it's like the guy standing in like the corner of the party.
Yeah.
You know the one I saw one where it was Kirk Cousins in the corner and him being like, they have no idea I'm about to throw the ball to Ray McLeod again. And it was like Kyle Pitts being like, why won't he throw to me? And Drake London being like, I'm wide open. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, run game looks good for Bijan Robinson. Do you feel more optimistic about the Falcons after this game or worried about the Eagles after this game?
Optimistic about the Falcons. I'm still really high on the Eagles.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles will be fine. I think the Falcons are kind of more so closer to what I thought they'd be coming into this year.
Sure.
And it was a step forward for them, and I think the Eagles I'm still high on the Eagles. I'm not worried about the Eagles.
Yeah, they did this without A.J. Brown, too, who's probably top 5 wide receiver?
Top 5-10.
He's in. I was talking about this with a couple of guys, and we were like, he's on like the next tier down from like the Jettas, Tyreek, CD. He's on like that next like level, which I think is fair. But yeah, Jalen Hurts' decision making. When we were doing the research into the top 10 quarterbacks, and I was comparing like the last like 2 years worth of stats, that was like everything kind of remained consistent like the last 2 years. was just interceptions spiked last year. So I don't know if he's trying to force the ball like into alleys that he shouldn't be or something like that. But hopefully um, that gets figured out. Did you pick the Falcons to win the NFC South?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you still feel good about that pick, even with the Buccaneers start to the year?
I do not feel good about my Falcons NFC South pick. However, I'm not going to spoil anything. My prediction, my bold prediction for the rest of the NFL season does have to do with the Falcons in the NFC South.
Falcons and NFC South. Okay, that's fine. The game that I wanted to talk about a little bit more was the primetime game from the night before in the Bears and Texans. Were you able to watch that one at all?
I was not able to watch, but I've seen some clips of it.
Okay. And this leads into another. This will lead into another point that I wanted to talk about. I'm sure very, very briefly. There's not a lot that I think needs to be said about this, but I walked away from that game, as crazy as it sounds, and some of the Bears fans that listen to this, I'm sure might find. I walked away from this feeling like good about both teams. Like I was like, okay, like I see it. Like I see the pathway for both teams, even more so than the Bears. Because like by the end of the game, we were sitting here watching it, and I was like, how are the Bears still in this? This does not feel like a Bears game, because I was like, with the offense playing this bad, the Bears should be losing like 35-7.
Yeah.
But then to see that it's 19-13 and the Bears have an opportunity at the end of the game to go and try and win it. Like I know Caleb hasn't played great, and I'm not gonna overreact to that. Once again, it's been 2 weeks. He's a rookie quarterback. I don't think anyone expected him to be great MVP candidate week 1, but like that defense looks legit. Like watching them like fly around like the field, like that secondary especially. I know they let Nico Collins kind of get his, but I mean that secondary looks legit. And the Texans, speaking of the Texans, Nico Collins is a dog. Like he might be one of them. Like by the end of this year, I would not be surprised if we're talking about Nico Collins as like a top 7 wide receiver in the NFL. Because like did you see the toe tap catch that he made in that game? It was like it was truly incredible. Like that was, I know I have him on like all of my fantasy football teams, and I had pretty high expectations for the Texans coming in, but like he looks like one of them. Like Will Anderson looks like one of them, like one of the elite players in the NFL. Like, yeah. How do you feel about the Texans leaving this game? I think we did. You pick the Bears to make the playoffs too?
So, really early beginning of the season, when we predicted, or beginning like of the podcast, when we predicted the Bears' record, I originally had their record like 7-10.
Sure.
When we did that.
Yeah.
However, I bought into the Bears' hype, and I picked them to make the playoffs, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't feel horrible about that. I think it's going to be contingent on one thing, and one thing only. If Ryan Poles trades for an offensive lineman or two. If he gets some moves for offensive linemen, that's literally, like, I'm going to be honest, I don't see why the Bears can't make it to the NFC Championship, make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If they get an offensive line.
I mean,
without an offensive line, they have no shot.
To be fair, a lot of that is just going to depend on, like, Caleb and, like, what he does at the end of the day. But from, like, the offensive line standpoint, not saying they were good. It was horrible. But it seemed like the Texans, like, I think I heard someone saying that they had, like, 30 some odd pressures on 40, like it was like all but like 5 of Caleb Williams dropbacks he was pressured on or something crazy like that. But it was like the Texans game plan was, we are going to send a blitz every down, and he is not going to know what to do with it. And we are just going to have him throwing under pressure the entire night, and he is going to have no clue what to do. Because, like, I was watching with Quinn and Connor and Craig and a couple of other of our friends, Davey and Gabe, and they were like, Quinn was pointing out, it's like, it's basic stunts that are getting to them, like, to this offensive line. And it's like, there's someone running free every single time. So, yeah, I would agree. It probably is. I wouldn't say they're an offensive line away because, like, obviously Caleb needs to play better. But, I mean, offensive line would go a long ways. Texans, did this game change your expectations for them at all?
No, I'm still high on the Texans, obviously. I think the only thing that really stood out to me about Texans is how last week on the podcast I talked about in fantasy how you should sell Joe Mixon, why his value was so high, and he had 9 runs for 25 yards.
That was it? He only had 9 carries?
9 carries for 25 yards. So I'm just thinking how I went 2 for 2 on my buy and sells.
Wait, you're 2 for 2? Who was your buy?
My sell was Joe Mixon. My buy was Marvin Harrison Jr.
And Marv was great. Maybe we'll let you get your opportunity to talk about Marv at some point. He was really good. That catch at the back of the end zone was nuts.
Yeah, almost made a trade for him today, too.
In which league?
In Big Dicks.
Actually?
That's the league name, by the way. But yeah.
What did you say?
I clarified that was the league name.
Oh, yeah. He's been trying... Okay, Craig, previous unpaid intern of the BT Enterprises, BTB Enterprises, but he's trying to make quite a few trades.
And he hasn't made any of them.
No. He was trying to get... I'm sure he... No, I'm not going to mention one of the trades he tried to make. He offered Isaiah Likely and Alexander Madison for Jalen Waddle, and then proceeded to drop Isaiah Likely. Craig, we love you. We're glad you're back in the league.
It's not the same without Craig.
No,
but
it felt weird all of the last year of the league without him. But yeah, glad to have him back in the league, and glad to have him uploading as often as he does. He's done a great job. I mean, he does something just about every day.
He has in the past few days, but like he has a lot of the most viewed. He has like a lot of like the higher viewed videos on our page.
It's funny, aside from your like bigger ones recently, but it's funny because his do better on TikTok, and then your and I's do better on like YouTube Shorts, which is kind of funny.
What I was gonna say is, before like these couple heaters I put out, it was you would bang on YouTube Shorts and he would bang on TikTok, and I would just be like, okay on both.
Middle. Yeah,
I'd be in the middle, but we all have our lanes now, and it's working. And I don't care who gets big. As I know we all gonna eat after that, but I'm just happy things are starting to pick up.
Whole squad eats when it comes to the Ball Talk Boyos Enterprises. And don't worry, I'll have my own like content starting to come out here. I'll follow in line with Joey and starting to provide my thoughts on some things that I like spend a little more like maybe I'll keep doing the thing where I watch the entire replay from an entire game and give my thoughts, or I start doing that the breakdowns of talking about like baseball a little bit more, because that's a little more my alley. As you can see, I got this hat's sick. I can't. That's the only reason I wore it tonight. I didn't feel like wearing a Red Sox hat. If I don't know who would see me out walking around. I practically live in a Red Sox hat, but this hat's just sick, and I felt like wearing it tonight. And I've got the mic set up on it. What's up?
Yeah, fun fact about Topher. Topher wore the same hat every day and while he slept for 3.5 years while I lived with him. 3.5 years. He might have even showered in that hat. It was crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. It was the... Well, okay, I will take back one thing. There was that one time your TD... It's a TD hat, obviously. It was Boston Red Sox hat has initials on the side. It got lost one time, and he found it in the middle of Kenosha, Wisconsin.
That was a crazy story. Did I try and tell that story without leaving? Okay, so we were walking to our local watering hole. It was a Wednesday night. It was country night. Oh, my parents are gonna find out about this story. It's really not that bad. But at some point we walked there. It's like a mile-ish?
Yeah, from where we walked, yes.
Yeah, from where we walked from. It's like a mile there. But at some point, either on the walk there or on the walk back, I lost my hat. And like Joey said, this was like this hat I practically lived in. My girlfriend gave it to me. It's like one of my most prized possessions. I don't wear it as much anymore because I just wear a different Red Sox hat now. But and then one day I was out on a run. Mind you, I had no clue I was missing the hat at this point. Like, I didn't know I didn't have it. Like, I thought it was like, one day I remember I was like, oh, it might just be like behind my bed or something. And it was just because I had a weird like crack between my bed and the wall at the house we were living in at the time. And I'm out on the run. Yeah, rip that house. I'm out on my run and there's a Red Sox hat on like the side of the road right there. And I'm like, huh, go take a look. And I pick up the hat and it has the initials TD on the side. And I'm like, this is my hat. And I was like, how in the world did the hat end up here? And I wound up like recounting that this is how it ended up there. But yeah, that's a crazy story. I don't know. It'd been over a week.
Yeah, no, it was like, because when you came back and said you found that hat,
yeah,
I was like, that was not like yesterday. That was not the day before. It had been like a minute there.
It had been like enough time that it shouldn't have still been there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, well, I think from what I remember, right?
Yeah.
I think on the walk there, a lot of us were like starting to wrestle.
No, I think I lost it on the way back. But yeah, we definitely were. We were doing something.
Okay.
We were doing something.
I thought that was how it got lost, but yeah, no. Crazy luck, especially considering where we were. Because, I mean, I feel like it would have gotten picked up, rained
like
on, ruined. Like, somebody would have...
Totally fine. Like, yeah, I wear it to go run now some of the time.
Shout out Kenosha, Wisconsin.
God bless the Shah. Never leaving. Bury me in the bike path. Something else that came out of the Bears-Texans game was the Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud trying to play veteran and give Caleb like a little advice. Did you have any thoughts on that going on after the game?
Yeah, what CJ Stroud did is what most quarterbacks do with rookies. That's normal. Like, CJ Stroud just did a normal thing, like, gave some advice. Like, there's no reason CJ Stroud should be considered anything in the wrong. It's considered that he's overstepping. Like, that's what you do. Caleb Williams...
Go ahead.
Caleb Williams... I understand he's competitive as a heat of the moment and stuff. It's not going to help the narrative that he's a little bit of a diva, though. It's not going to help that narrative.
No, it's not. But like, think about it in your shoes. You just played a cruddy game, like a bad game, and you lost, and it's largely on you. You don't want someone that's. I've been around you after a race. You don't want anyone talking to you after a bad race.
The one thing I will say about that is I don't want anyone talking to me after a bad race, but the people who would talk to me after bad races aren't, like, how do I word this? After a race, right, the people who came up to me be like you and some of the guys on the team, right?
Sure.
It's not like some veteran runner from a different team who comes up to me who I like look up to, not necessarily look up to, but like who like has accomplished so much. Like it's people on our team, right?
Yeah.
People who I feel comfortable with, people who I've been around, people who I know I'm going to be talking to in an hour after I kind of just
regardless,
am good, right? But if after a cruddy race, if someone from another school, like the Carroll, for example, that's another school in our conference.
Sure.
Charlie Quast comes up to me. Shout out Charlie Quast. I'm gonna have a conversation. No. I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna be like a little peeved off, right? Not at him, but I'm gonna be like, I'm just gonna be respectful, right? If I'm not close to someone like that, I'm gonna be respectful, and so I just think that it was disrespectful. That's it.
I have no issue with it. I think it was just he was upset that he lost. He didn't want to talk to anybody. I'm sure he just wanted to go. He just wanted to go hug his mama, I'm sure. There's nothing wrong with that. Probably just wanted to go. I don't know. What? It was after the game last year. Remember when people?
No. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a joke.
Okay.
But
people tried to question his masculinity because he cried with his mama.
Yeah, I remember that.
Some people stink.
Screw USC though.
How are they doing this year?
They're actually really good.
Yeah,
until they get in the big. Yeah, Miller Moss is goated. Until they get in the Big Ten play and get rolled.
Yeah, just wait till they start coming out. Wait till it's coming out here to the Northwest in a cold November morning.
When they come to Iowa in November, they're not gonna. Those pretty boys from Southern California ain't gonna know how to act. They ain't gonna know how to act.
I'll give you your opportunity to talk a little college football here in a minute. But back to NFL football. I think we did roughly this last week, and we'll probably keep doing it. But it'll probably be right now. We're talking a lot more on bigger scale. At other points, we'll talk about smaller scale, maybe like just strictly to the week with these. But what player or team has been the biggest disappointment so far?
Yeah, in terms of teams, I'm going with the Bengals. The Bengals were a team with a lot of expectations coming into the year, and they just haven't really looked good anywhere. I mean, Joe Burrow hasn't looked great. They have this whole situation with Jamar Chase, who turns out to... Okay, I know I talked about Caleb Williams has like that diva reputation with some people. Jamar Chase is actually kind of a diva, it seems like. Because he's only about himself. Temper tantrum, he's only about himself. But we should have known that coming in because he sat out an entire year of college football at LSU just to protect his draft stock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I understand. I understand sitting out a bowl game. Yeah. I don't agree with it, but I understand it, especially in football. But sitting out an entire year.
Leonard Fournette start that? He was kind of like the beginning of that, right?
I feel like it was Christian McCaffrey.
I think Fournette was before.
The first one I like really remember, and I'm like, oh no, this is gonna become a whole thing. That was Christian McCaffrey. It might have been Leonard Fournette. I think Leonard Fournette was before, yeah, but
he was Fournette.
The one that sticks out to me that was like, oh, this is gonna become a whole trend was McCaffrey.
Yeah. But the Fournette tangent about Leonard Fournette. But the other day when Adam Schefter tweeted something about him, he said, former Buccaneers and Bills running back Leonard Fournette, which leaves out the actual good part of his career, which was when he was with the Jaguars.
I feel like he was almost.
No,
he had some good times in Tampa.
Yeah, but like,
I know the Jaguars was like.
He was actually good in Jacksonville.
That's fair. But yeah, Bengals have been my disappointment so far as a team.
Yeah.
And as a player, Caleb Williams.
Oh, no.
Not because I think I don't think he... In my mind, he hasn't been a disappointment necessarily, but public perception and delusional Bears fandoms thought he was going to be like elite right out of the gate. And so just based on expectations... It wasn't fair, yeah, but based on expectations publicly, he's been a disappointment.
Leonard Fournette actually wasn't that good.
He was a beast in college and kind of a bust in the NFL.
It looked like, just off like how many games he played, it looks like he was just injury prone.
He was.
Dang, who would have thought I would have come out of this podcast learning that Leonard Fournette just wasn't that good? Yeah, his only he had won. Oh no, he had 73 catches one year. Dang, 76 and 73 catches. Anyways, yeah, I will agree on the Bengals. I don't agree on Caleb Williams. But yeah, Jamar Chase definitely a concern. He threw that little temper tantrum. And I don't know if this is crazy to say, he's not good enough to be talking like that. Like, if you I feel like we're expecting him to get paid off his what we think he's gonna do long term, which is fine. Which honestly probably is how contracts should work. Is that you should be getting paid based off future production rather than what you've produced up until this point. And I feel like I haven't seen enough from. I'm just not. Maybe I'm just not familiar with his game enough to be I just don't see his current production turning into the freakish production that I think some people. He shouldn't be the highest paid. He probably will be, but he shouldn't be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. He's going to. He's going to reset the market, and he's going to get more than probably 38 mil a year. But we'll see. My biggest disappointing player so far is Trevor Lawrence. He just got paid. I expected him to play better. I expected the Jaguars to be a playoff team. Hand up, I'm probably wrong with that now. I love Doug Peterson. I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to step up. He hasn't thus far. They blew a game to the Dolphins, and then they just lost to the Browns with a quarterback who stinks. Brian Thomas legit, though. Great pick by me in Dynasty. But yeah. What player/team has been the biggest surprise to you so far?
Team-wise, I feel like you're going to go with the Saints because that's the obvious pick. So, well, I put Vikings down.
That's what I put.
Okay, so I'll go Saints then because that Saints was my original one.
Hey, election year Derek Carr.
Election year. I can't believe I saw that today. I can't believe
it's a legit thing.
Yeah, but I mean, he looks like Brendan, so that makes sense. Shout out Brendan.
Think he watches? No, he doesn't.
No.
Brendan, if you're listening, we love you and we miss you. Continue.
Yeah, but the Saints' offense has been in a year where offensive production in the NFL has been down.
So
Clint Kubiak has done a fantastic job with that offense. I mean, they didn't change up anything. There was no changes, and there's so much better. Derek Carr looks really good. Alvin Kamara is beating the gonna be washed allegations because he looks really good.
He's been legit so far.
Olave's decent. I think he has some good stuff ahead of him.
Yeah.
And Rashid Shaheed, beast.
Yeah.
I think they're really the big thing is they haven't been using Taysom Hill as much and running their offense through Taysom Hill. So maybe that's kind of the reason they're being so successful. But yeah, no, they're looking good.
You want to know what the reason Derek Carr could be so good so far? He played in the preseason.
Are we gonna start a narrative that players who play in the preseason are more successful? Are we gonna be the ones who start that narrative?
We might have to, or maybe we cut this all out, so that way, or I will never. We're not gonna cut this out, and I'm not gonna figure out how to do this. But I just bleep the audio, and then so that way you and I know for next year, and we're like, all right, these guys played in the preseason. I bet these guys get off to good starts.
We might be on something here. We might be on something.
Yeah, we're tested. We're testing a hypothesis. What did I miss?
I said we're on something, not onto something.
I was trying to look up their preseason stats to see. I could be making up that Derek Carr played, but I could have sworn I saw somebody talking about how Derek Carr played. Anyways, doesn't really matter. My big surprise team was the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold is everyone that was concerned about Justin Jefferson and his production coming into the year because he supposedly didn't have a quarterback. Well, guess what? It's the Red Rocket from USC, Sam Darnold. And it just took him a little bit. And it took 1 year with Shanahan for him to figure it out. You want to know what Connor called him the other day?
Uh-oh.
Called him a Kevin O'Connell merchant.
A Kevin O'Connell merchant?
Yeah, I have never in a million years. Connor, you know I love you, but I had to bring it up. I have never in a million years would have thought I would have heard someone call somebody Kevin O'Connell. And for those here, I might even clip this off and post it like separately. But for those of you in like the comments, is this like a legit thing? Like Will, well, we can text Will about Will if you're watching. Is being a Kevin O'Connell merchant like an actual thing? Because I want to know now. Anyways, but yeah, I think the Vikings look every bit the part. Everyone said that they felt like they were just like like the defense looks good. They just beat the banged up 49ers, but I mean, they seem to be playing really well, and they're definitely a team I'll be keeping my eye on. When I thought they were going to finish last in the NFC North, I don't think they're going to win it. I still think that's the Packers. Jordan Love looks like he's trending towards playing here soon. But yeah. My surprise player and then the calf talk debate of the week and then my bold prediction for the rest of the season all kind of go all together.
All right, I'll do my surprise player first then.
Okay, go ahead.
My surprise player. I had to look at it because there's been a lot of guys who really impressed me so far at this point in the season. But who has overcome the most? Who is playing for a coach that is a sworn enemy? Who
we have the same person.
Is a homer pick, J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins has looked amazing, and I could not be happier for him. I love J.K. Dobbins. Great.
Leading the league in rushing.
He might be, yeah.
Like, truly unprecedented things, like, with his injury history. Like, the man tore his Achilles a year ago. You're not supposed to come back from that. And sure, he's probably not going to, break away crazy speed. But, I mean, the man's got 9.9 yards per rush right now. And my bold prediction for the rest of the year, and this will bleed into our calf talk debate of the week, I think the Chargers are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm bought in on Harbaugh. And I think we haven't even seen them have to use their greatest weapon. And that's the guy with some absolute lettuce that wears number 10. And is probably one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL. We have not had to see him do his thing yet. Because that defense is great. They're all bought in. And they've got the two best Joe Alt. People were clowning them for taking Joe Alt over Malik Neighbors. He's bullying defensive linemen weekly now.
It was a great pick. It was. I said at the time. I'll say it now. Great pick. Great pick.
Joe Alt Delete is probably a great nick. We want to talk about great nicknames. Joe Alt Delete is up there.
We needed one like that.
It needed to make a comeback. We needed good nicknames to start to come back around. But I mean, I'm all in on the Chargers. We got Harbaugh saying that he's like Moses believing in his staff today. I'm all in on Harbaugh and Harbaughisms. How do you feel about the Chargers after week 2?
Yeah, I'm really high on the Chargers right now. And, I mean, I'm just interested to see the way Harbaugh is cheating in the NFL. Like, how do you figure out how to, like... I'm kidding. It's not college. He's not. I doubt he's doing that anymore.
Yeah,
but
no shot.
But yeah, no. Chargers look very, very good. Their offensive line looks really good. I mean, I think they're the 2 highest graded tackles according to
Rashawn Slater.
Pro Football Focus right now. Rashawn Slater, yeah.
And
They look
Joel
really good. I considered my bold prediction being the Chargers making the playoffs, but I have a different one that I really like. But yeah, Chargers look very good. Their run game looks amazing. J.K. Dobbins is back, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, and it's great. What was your bold prediction? Did you say?
Yeah. So my bold prediction is that 2 teams from the NFC South make the postseason.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. Because I think the Buccaneers are really good, and I think the Falcons are going to come around. They're too talented, and I think Kirk Cousins is too good to not come around eventually.
Yeah, I mean, Falcons, Saints, Buccaneers all look really good right now. Well, Falcons all look really good.
I completely forgot about the Saints, too. Oh, my gosh.
I mean, I'm just saying it's a bold prediction because of the fact that coming into the year, we talked about this as like the worst
division in the NFL. Yeah. And now it looks like 3 of the teams are legit. Yeah. That's fair.
They could have 3 playoff teams, for all we know. I think it's a little crazy. I'm gonna
probably a little bit. But I mean, that's not two's I think safe. Especially, I mean, Rams are banged up for the foreseeable future. I mean, who knows what's going to go on in the NFC East? Like, it's just like Cowboys, Eagles. Like, who knows? But yeah, I mean, we will see. Calf Dog debate of the week. I'll cut out and adjust some of these teams, but actually, we'll just say we already talked about 3 of these teams. But which team do you believe in more, the Seahawks or the Steelers? Both started out 2-0.
I would say I believe more in the Seahawks.
You do,
just because of the fact that I just don't think the Steelers have a very competent offense. I just think their offense is not going to be very good. Justin Fields has been okay, not great, but honestly, he's not been very good, right?
Sure.
And I don't know if Russell Wilson's going to be any better. And Arthur Smith's a war criminal, so I just do not have much faith in the Steelers. Their defense looks great. Don't get me wrong, I have them in fantasy, they're good. But I'm sorry, Trev. The Steelers are not my pick here. It's the Seahawks. How do you Trev shout out in there?
I would tend to agree. It's just going to depend on what Russell Wilson looks like when he comes back. I think he should. Justin Fields has had potentially the greatest opportunity of his career these last 2 games, and I don't think it's crazy to say he's not turning the ball over, to be fair, but I'm not like, wow. He just proved us all wrong and showed he's actually a genuine passer at this NFL level. They won a 1-score game against the Broncos. You beat 40-year-old Bo Nix. Congratulations. Like, I think the Steelers could still be good. Like, the Steelers, their ceiling is 9-8 and their floor is 9-8. Like, genuinely. And it's just like the ceiling just has them making the playoffs. The floor doesn't. Like, that's just what the Steelers are going to be, unfortunately. Seahawks, we'll see. Geno looks good. I think that secondary is legit. I hope this is DK Metcalf's year. I'm just waiting for him to have like a year where he has like 1,600 receiving yards.
I don't know if it's DK Metcalf's year, but there's another guy who I think you should be rooting for a little bit more because he's on your team.
Yeah, I think DK Metcalf is like truly like just an athletic specimen, and I'd like to see him like dominate for a full season and have like 1,600 receiving yards and be an all-pro first team. Like I think that'd be great. we'll do a little college football and NBA talk here to wrap things up. I'll let you talk a lot about this stuff. But Arch Manning made his first longer appearance in a college football game this past week, and it looks like he's trending towards starting this week. I believe was the latest
Yes.
reports was that Quinn Ewers was at least going to be out 1 week. My question was, could this be Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler 2.0?
I don't think he will be. No. Yeah, I think Spencer Rattler had his faults, which is why Spencer Rattler was good, and then until he wasn't, and then because Spencer Rattler was not playing very well, Caleb Williams kind of came in and took it over. Quinn Ewers is a great quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Arch Manning looks like he might be one of the best quarterbacks in college football too, but Arch Manning's not gonna start over Quinn Ewers this year unless Quinn Ewers plays bad. It's his job, and I think that there's not really pressure to start Arch Manning because Arch Manning expects to sit this year.
Yeah, which props to him because I mean he went to a place he knew he was going to sit for 2 years, which not a lot of people I think would do nowadays.
Yeah, I mean I think he has a lot of people giving him good advice in the Manning household there because
he can run.
Yeah, I mean he's recorded a faster speed than Tyreek Hill has this year.
Yeah,
Arch Manning.
It must just be because he's not Peyton or Eli's kid, but Mannings aren't supposed to run that fast. I don't think he knows that.
He's a quick one, man.
He must not have been there for that meeting. But yeah.
Yeah. The hype
another question.
Crazy, though.
What's that?
Go ahead. No, I'm done.
Another question that I had, because I genuinely don't know. I'm not as tapped into college football or sports as you are. If the season ended today, who would win the Heisman?
I mean, I think it's obviously way too early to kind of tell who's going to win the Heisman at the end of the year, but there's two guys right now who I think are like the favorites. The first one who I would choose to win is Ashton Genty from Boise State, the running back there. Okay. His numbers have been unreal. He looks like the best player in the nation right now. The problem with him, though, is he plays for Boise State. And so once we get into conference play, when Boise State's games aren't going to be televised necessarily, or like nationally televised, I should say. And Cam Ward, who plays for Miami at quarterback, is out there beating a bad Florida State team by 6 touchdowns or something. Hypothetical, of course. People are going to be calling for Cam Ward to win the Heisman. Also, I think Miami might actually be back this year. And if Miami goes out and wins the ACC and gets one of those top 4 playoff berths, Cam Ward's probably going to be the Heisman winner. Ashton Genty has a lot to overcome. If Boise State wins out from here, gets that Group of 5 bid to the playoffs, or somehow is higher ranked than one of the Power 4 champions and gets one of those top 4 seeds, then he has a shot. But it's going to be Cam Ward, I think. And okay. Cam Ward, I think, is who they would choose right now.
Okay, that's fair. Now those were the two. I'll probably keep doing it this way with college football and sports in general. Is that as I come up with questions, I'll ask you as our resident college sports expert. But I wanted to start a new section called Joey's College Sports Corner. We'll figure out a better name for it, but I kind of wanted to hand the reins over to you a little bit, let you talk whatever thoughts you had about college sports lately. So,
yeah, I think there's a couple things that really stand out to me right now. I've made some videos, obviously, this week about what my ideal college football would look like, how I think the college football super conferences are going to look, and shout out my dad for that video idea, actually. He saw those real-line videos, he was like, you should do this, and I listened, and I put it out, and hopefully when I hop off this, I'll see that it finally hit the algorithm and got some views and likes and stuff. And then the other thing is that the Pac-12, which was left for dead with just 2 teams, Oregon State, Washington State, has expanded to 6, and looks like they're about to add 2 more teams. And those first two teams that they're about to add, I'm 100% right about. The two that I really talked about were Tulane and Memphis, and it looks like Tulane and Memphis are going to be in the Pac-12 if they decide to join. So, as someone who studies conference realignment, I just got to say I was right. Before even being right, I was right. If you think I'm wrong, I know I'm right. So yeah, conference realignment's a great thing to study. Oh, another popper off thing. Oh,
that's for you, Joe. That's for you.
Thank you.
I gotta clean this up after though, because there was a lot of confetti last time. Continue.
Yeah. But I just okay. I'm good now. I pat myself on the back. I stroked my ego a little bit, but college football there's nothing like it, man. We went a couple weeks ago to the University of Wisconsin game against South Dakota at Camp Randall.
Yotes.
And just the environment of college football at a almost meaningless game for a Wisconsin team that's not great against an FCS opponent. It was just still something so beautiful.
It was so cool.
It was amazing to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I just gotta say, first of all, jump around was sick. It was sick.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was cool. The student section and people in the crowd, mostly student section, were singing "Build Me Up, Buttercup," which, if you know me, that's a big song of mine. So that was fantastic. But just college sports, college football is amazing. And if there's one thing I want to accomplish with Ball Talk Boyos and with a platform I hope to get, I want to go to more in-person games as a result of connections we build, as a result of success we have, as a result of content we want to put out. It's how cool would it be someday to be set up and do interviews at a college sports game, do a vlog of our day at the college sports. How cool would that be to do with any sporting event? We go to Fenway Park and watch the Red Sox play a game. How cool would that be to go out there and do something like that? College football is what would excite me the most, I think.
Yeah.
That or the NCAA tournament, March Madness. Those were the two that would really get me happy and excited. Yeah. But that just fueled me to want to get after this and want to accomplish something even more because, man, college football is special, and it's a shame that conference realignment might ruin some of that magic.
Yeah, that's right. I gotta say, on the point of, I do think it would be really cool to start doing a little more. Seeing how good your videos have done the last couple of days got me a little fired up, and it was it got me really fired up. I know I'm a very busy person. I have a lot going on, but I was all right, I gotta lock in on this, and give it 100. We have from the start, but it's I know there's more I could do, and it's we'll get there to the point, and we'll start doing more content. Our content will only grow from here, and this will not be the last defiant act of the Ball Talk Boyos podcast. I can guarantee you that.
And once you're graduated and old head and washed next year, and you don't have anything going on outside of living with your girlfriend and work, what you're gonna want to do is
you'll move back here, and it'll.
Hey, if this thing blows up, I have every reason to be moving back to Wisconsin.
Good point. And we both know I am not coming to Indiana.
And I wouldn't wish it on you, man. Wisconsin. We'll set up a little home base in Wisconsin. Right. I'll get my nice house on the lake, boat. We'll get the Ball Talk Boyos offices going. We'll get some of the boyos from school working in there full time. It'll be great.
We were running past the marina, all the boat, and we were it's got to be so cool to be able to name a boat. Yeah. Thinking looking at what some of the names were for some of the boats, I was those pretty cool names for a boat.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can come up with some good names for some boats, man.
Oh yeah,
the Ball Talk Boyos company car paying for a company boat.
Not our money.
It's company money, and hypothetically, if we need it for a business trip to be on the boats outside of the San Francisco Giant Stadium. Outside the San Francisco Giant Stadium. Yeah,
let's write it off.
Business trip.
Business expense.
If Craig, our interns, actually, we're gonna make him watch this because he has to. He doesn't have a choice. But Craig, make sure you get on that and start getting to work on getting us a boat.
And if you need to put any down payments on, just we'll reimburse you eventually.
Yeah, just spot us for it.
I'm an accountant. I don't think we can write that off as business expense.
If we own the business, yes, we can.
I don't think you can write a boat off.
Okay, once I buy your share of the business, I'll write it off for you.
I think it has to be used for a certain percentage of company use. We would have to record some podcasts on the boat.
Oh, no, we have to record podcasts on the boat.
We'll figure it out. Is this the first time we're going to do NBA talk on here?
We've done a little bit with contracts and stuff.
Contracts that out the Olympics.
We haven't done much actual just NBA stuff now.
Okay. They're about to find out just how deep our bag goes.
I don't know if NBA counts as a deep bag, but we'll see.
But they just know us as the college football, NFL, little bit of baseball.
Olympic track.
Yeah, but they're about to find out how deep our bag goes. This year, we're going to find out someone else how deep their bag actually goes, and that's Ben Simmons. Is Ben Simmons back?
Did you see some report today or something about
Ben
Simmons?
I've seen some stuff the last couple of days, people talking about the yearly Ben Simmons, best shape of his life. He's better than he was when he was an all-star. Do you think Ben Simmons can get back, I guess, is probably the better question.
I don't know if he can. I think he's just such a mental midget.
Yeah, and
it's going to be impossible.
I think even if he weren't, I think the physical stuff has to limit him enough, right? Because he had serious back issues and knee issues. I think those were the two.
Yeah, but I think he's just too much.
I'm rooting for Ben Simmons because I like a good underdog story. But we'll see. I say we're gonna spend this long time talking about NBA, but it's really gonna be one player and then one other tiny thing, and it's gonna take up 3 minutes. But Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski, I probably butchered that, but announced he's retiring to be the GM for St. Bonaventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any thoughts on the Woj retirement, I guess? Our source for NBA news.
Good for him retiring, man. That job, I would not wish that job on anybody. You have to be on 24/7. I hope he gets paid because you have to be on 24/7 for that.
I'm sure it's what he was doing now. It's just it's going to be much more confined now. It's his scope narrows.
St. Bonaventure GM. First of all, having a GM for a college basketball team.
It's a big thing now.
I haven't heard GM necessarily. I've heard people in charge. No, I've heard people in charge of NIL endorsements, that type of stuff. Hey, I love me some Atlantic 10 basketball, man. The Bonnies of St. Bonaventure up there in New York. I love it. Don't get me wrong, but it's a job. That's a job I would love. It's a lot more chill than the job he's had before. It's not a chill job, don't get me wrong. It's still college basketball. That's still a high-pressure environment, especially in a place like the Atlantic 10 Conference where basketball is the sport there. It's not like there's football to distract people from it. No, if you go to St. Bonaventure, the number one team you care about, unless you're on another team, is men's basketball. So it'll be a cool thing, and I think just his name recognition alone is going to bring a lot to that program. Yeah. So that'll be cool to see.
That's fair. Hope all the best for him. Shams won, I guess. Shams now gets to dominate the market for as long as he wants.
Good for him.
What's that?
Good for him. I like Shams. You can't really hate either of them. They just put out factual information.
Shams is starting to turn where he's had some allegations, but
that's true.
We'll get into that another time. This week's Boyo of the Week comes to you brought by yours truly. I was sitting there thinking about people that I remember fondly from the beginnings of my sports fandom, and I landed on C.J. Anderson. I was a big Peyton Manning fan, obviously, as people have seen probably in the last couple of weeks. I've worn my Peyton Manning jerseys, but I remember C.J. Anderson, that whole running back room very fondly. I know none of them were ever crazy. Monty Ball, which just at Wisconsin, Monty Ball, C.J. Anderson, no Sean Moreno. I remember them all very fondly, but C.J. Anderson probably the most notable, at least for their NFL career.
NFL wise, yes.
Yeah.
No, Sean Moreno might be above him.
Maybe I'd have to look. I'd have to look back.
But he's above Monte Ball just strictly for NFL. Yes.
Strictly for NFL. Yeah. When you think of C.J. Anderson, what comes to mind for you?
C.J. Anderson, I just remember him being on that Super Bowl team. Really.
Yeah.
I feel like C.J. Anderson. There's not a specific play that sticks out to me.
See,
I know what type of play he had that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But I know what type of player he is, and he's just a good hard-nosed power runner, and I think he was a really vital part of those teams. A guy who just goes in there, gets abused and used for a couple of years in the NFL, doesn't last super long, but you remember him, had a good career, Super Bowl champ, good for him, man.
Yeah, I mean, even in that Super Bowl run, he had his 3 games. He was pretty good, scored a touchdown, 2 of them. The biggest game was with the Rams against the Cowboys. He had 23 attempts for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I mean, undrafted free agent, came in, was a Pro Bowler. Another random Denver Broncos running back that was an undrafted free agent that turned out to be something pretty special. So I'll always look back on C.J. Anderson fairly fondly. Did you have any final thoughts today, Jobo?
I mean, nothing much. I think we got a lot of our random thoughts about sports and life in general out today. But yeah, good episode. I'm glad we were able to yap for an hour 22 minutes.
We went a lot longer. We went a lot longer than I thought. This was going to be a clean 40.
I thought 45. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about Bryce Young for quite some time.
That's fine.
Which was fair. And honestly, if we'd recorded yesterday, we probably would still be talking about Bryce Young right now. I was very fired up about it, and I've cooled down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
my passion about it remains the same. I've just calmed down. But yeah, my final thoughts: Bryce Young. I know you're an avid follower. I know you like everything that we're watching, but I will be. Maybe that'll be my end of the year jersey. I get Bryce Young jersey.
You're getting an end of year jersey?
Yeah. When the BD of C, when the Redeem Team finally brings it home. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, follow on all the socials. Have a good night, everybody, and go Birds. Okay.
Go Birds!